I had to hop on here because it's just been picking at me, been nagging me. You see this beautiful, happy, healthy, lovely, bright child here. This was a little girl that has been torn away from me, and she stays in the same state with the male counterpart who felt self-ordained.
With a serial rapist who also raped a minor child in Mexico and then absconded, abandoned those two children that he left a child with to raise on her own with no financial support, no personal support, but felt entitled to come over here illegally entering the US to rape me. Okay?
Make a mockery of me, perform debauchery in his best way of paying, I guess you could say, his ideal of respect, or really just no respect, no appreciation, and no consideration at all. See, my issue was that because I was raised and bred and molded in dysfunction, abuse, and I was brainwashed, groomed, and misled my entire life due to not just these communities, but also the family structure and the lack thereof, the civil unrest, the curses and disgraceful skeletons in the closets of the broken homes, broken legacies that we are born and conceived from and out of self-hatred and lust for flesh created me, and the extortion and utmost disrespect for the female body, her as an organism, as an organization, as an entity, especially if she is melanated. She is disregarded, unprotected. She's never believed, and even if all the evidence in the world proves her abusers is guilty, this negligence that is enabled and allowed, permissible, when the institutions are involved. So this debate and these conversations and topics about who is largely penalized, criminalized, demonized, underrepresented, with little to no support, no acknowledgement, no willingness, no preparedness to assist with the healing process and to right the wrongs that are done onto us. My story may seem complex, but it's really not. When we're speaking, or when I'm speaking in the context of slavery never ended, there are still slaves today. It's running and functioning very well, slavery. It's just not recognized, and it is not identified as slavery, but it is. Poverty is slavery. Human sex trafficking is slavery. Low-wage trafficking is slavery. Passing into the United States without the proper respects and the following of the protocol to achieve and gain entrance here, to prevent these disasters which has occurred to me, which has severed and separated and alienated a mother from a child. It sounds like slavery to me, like my child was just sold to a cheap, immoral, dusty, crooked, deceitful, manipulative, and hate-filled male who felt entitled to come here to the States in the U.S., leaving two of his own already born out of wedlock children who were born to a minor, but due to Mexico not having strict laws or really upholding any such laws that would regulate the abuse and oppression involving the exploitation of the female body. See, there's no accountability, and in this culture, it poisons those in proximity to it. It does not matter what social stratosphere, class that you come from. It affects you, and it will affect you. If it has not affected you, it's coming. See, this idea or this ideology that nothing can bother me, I cannot suffer, I have money and material things, resources, I have weapons and all this and all that, that does not mean that you are free from the effects, consequences, and the aftermath of injustice. The issue here is how disingenuous so many are all over this world. But I want to be very specific because I'm speaking from my experience. Here in the United States, it is a privilege to be here. However, it is also this misconception that women are truly mobilized and are liberated. It's also a false narrative and a false belief that the women always get the children, or like the justice system in regards to these family courts are in favor of the mother. No, it's not. See, the projection of guilt onto me comes from this my innate character of sovereignty, even in the midst and while experiencing oppression and slavery and exploitation, being underpaid, disrespected, unprotected, visible only in certain occasions and circumstances, and then the assassination of my character, as if children and people, male or female, woman or man, who have experienced trauma, abuse, extreme abuse, a pattern of it, were raised in the environment where the families that are supposed to be there to protect and support, to supervise, to guide, to instill values into you, they are the first offenders, the first betrayers. And that is the first lessons that we get is at home. So when you live in that terrible reality where your right to be a child, your right to be a female child, free from the harm and the chaos and the horrific events of abuse, when there's no safety network and there's no accountability, there's no reliability, it's just not safe. It is not a functioning and it is not a thriving, flourishing standard of living. So then you disperse this now teenager into the world and bounce them all over the place, which is what happened to me. I ended up oftentimes in foster homes, group homes, juvenile halls, and jail. On the streets with strangers because I could not go home. I was often kicked out, or if I wasn't kicked out, I ran away because I would rather take my chances with the world than to continue being abused sexually, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, verbally assaulted at home, so-called home, from a so-called Christian home at that. So it's not that these services never crossed paths or never crossed paths with me. They did. CPS crossed paths with me when I was a child and they failed me. The so-called justice system failed me because of their unwillingness to listen and to take my truth, to accept it, and then to take the necessary actions to correct it. I was placed in a situation where, first of all, I grew up believing that nobody cared, nobody would defend me or protect me. I had encountered a lot of sexual assaults growing up, a lot of raping that had happened to me. Just me and my body, I felt that regardless of how I felt, regardless of me fighting back or running away, that there was just no true safety. I could not turn to somebody who actually was looking out for my best interests since birth. So when drugs were implemented into my life to be able to, not just to be able to tolerate or really to escape the reality that I lived in, it was also as a means for abusers to control me, to dominate me, to take advantage of me. And when you're going, or when I was going through the hell and the plight that I was faced with and experiencing, drugs to me was a crutch and was also that support, that counselor, if you will, that defense mechanism, because I could not find any security in people. I had been taught and shown and proven over and over again that when it comes to doing the right thing, when it comes to speaking up even for children, when it comes to following the law, when it comes to enforcing the law, that people will fail me. So a part of me basically just shut out the outside world. I did not see law enforcement or different members of agencies and institutions as credible. I did not see them as dependable, reliable. I did not see them as trustworthy, and I certainly did not see them as a means of, escaping and achieving a better circumstance than what I was presented with and experiencing. Because from a young age, from childhood to teenage years to adulthood, I had been mistreated over and over again. I can recall being raped by a coworker. This was a black male, and when I tried to make a police report, and not just a police report, but also speaking with the manager of the company that I was working for, first off, the manager was also a black male. He, when I was speaking with him, came up with and tried to insert this narrative of perhaps I confused the coworker for raping me. Perhaps it was as if it was my fault, projecting blame onto me, saying stuff like, about my attire, how I was dressed. Mind you, I was wearing jeans and a long sleeve shirt, so I don't really know. I was very developed for my age. My breasts came in and all that, but needless to say, when I had tried to bring attention to what had happened to me, I was met with opposition, indifference, and excuses for why it was acceptable for this male to do this to me, and why, in some way, that it was my fault as to what had happened to me. And this same type of rhetoric was expressed even with the officers when I attempted to do this police report. They basically scoffed, laughed, mocked me, accusing me of being provocative and basically asking for it. So then the other coworkers that I worked with at this company, the females also picked up the same type of energy and were projecting that to me, asking me all types of insidious questions, as if to doubt my credibility or make me second guess myself as to why or what I perceived was wrong. And perhaps it wasn't rape, it was just, a misunderstanding, blaming it on me. So this type of handling of these situations, that's what I have been experiencing basically my entire life. And there has been several times, even when I report to the police, when I report to CPS, when I speak with agencies, when I speak with supposed to be authoritative figures, agencies, institutions, I'm met with an unwillingness to address the issue, to confront the issue, to resolve the issue, to enforce laws. But the root problem of this is not even the agencies. It is the perpetuators of this toxic and terrible, horrendous behavior and actions. where women like me go on with due justice and liberation not being served and exercised, even when there's evidence and proof. And instead of receiving alleviation, instead of receiving reasonable results, met with discrimination, prejudice, met with identifying me as a criminal and penalizing me just as such. It's basically saying that what I'm experiencing, this abuse that I'm experiencing from these abusers, whether they be familial or not, is legal and is okay, is acceptable. So when I say that I'm tired of explaining myself, I do not trust anyone or anything. I say these and I discuss this because it needs to be said, and perhaps it may be of use to somebody else who listens to it. Perhaps me expressing and detailing what I went through may be able to help you to advocate for yourself, may be able to help you to prevent going through what I went through and what others have went through and experienced, and to learn a lesson, perhaps to gain some sort of insight or whatever your reason is for listening. But it's a soundboard to my attempts to heal and for the closure that I will never get outside of myself. I had been so patient, decent, cooperative with criminals, abusers, exploiters, who targeted me, made profit off of me, and paid me with my willingness to cooperate by severing and disturbing and disrupting the relationship between my child and myself. Now, my child is born out of non-consensual, no love, no romance, no respect, survival. She is born out of terrible
Right.
circumstances and
She's born
selfish,
out of rape.
fleshly, fulfilling, lustful, predatorial roots. And dude,
She, like myself, are born out of rape, non consensual, no foundation built, very one sided, animalistic, savage, beastly, and derogatory of standards. This child was not created and born out of any type of functioning or rational so called relationship. And I'm getting real sick and tired of the words like domestic violence. No, bitch. It's just violence. Fuck a domestic. Okay? I'm real sick. I'm so sick of y'all language and y'all's passivity, and I don't give a damn. I mean, it just is what it is. You have no business, folks have no business calling relationships when they're not even relationships. A relationship, especially involving the making and the creating of a child, it needs to be formed on a basis of more than just one, at least one of the two or more so-called partners, badgering a female, exploiting a female, using force, physical force, coercion, um, basically isolating a female, abducting a female who is uh, younger than half your age is not a relationship, nor is this even sufficient or qualified means of producing a child. And here's the issue. I mean, all over this frickin' planet, what do we see? We see all sorts of irresponsible nature. Irresponsible on both male and female. Both the female and the male are guilty of this. And I know some folks don't like to hear the word like guilty and blame, but it's true. And I'm not here to coddle anyone's feelings or emotions. It is what it is. You're having children when you're impoverished, okay? You're expecting children or very young adults who are basically children to be responsible and accountable for the conduct of folks who are twice our age, exploiting us, misusing their advancement and experience in this world, which is more extensive than those of us who were young when this happened to us. And due to this bullshit culture, which basically says to females, and especially females of color, that says to us that we are not entitled to any innocence, We are not entitled to our own fucking bodies. We are not entitled to our own fucking feelings. And this is fucking bullshit. So, y'all don't want to confess, or not even you per se, but this world, this planet, these motherfuckers all over this planet have the fucking audacity to abuse these kids, to abuse young adults, to abuse male and female both, and fucking try to subject us and put us through the consequences of their inabilities to actually be functioning fucking adults, all the while acting as if they are a savage beast, probably because they are savage beasts who are irresponsible, have no fucking self governance, have no ability to, operate reasonably, have no fucking care about these children who they either take from us, who they murder, or who they enforce us to have. And even though, yes, there is things like abortions in place and things of that nature. However, when we're conditioned or we come into contact with your religions and it's been beaten into our fucking psyche, what do you suspect or what do you expect is going to happen? Are you saying that it's like impossible for young minds to be impressioned? Are you really going to make such a statement? Because I know that's not true. And I'm pretty fucking intelligent. So I'm saying if I can be brainwashed, indoctrinated, and coerced, it can happen to a fucking genius. Because I consider myself a fucking genius. And just because I don't have billions in the fucking bank does not mean anything. It does not matter what you have or don't have. It doesn't matter what intellect you have or don't have. It does not matter. It does not matter what color you are. It doesn't even matter what fucking gender you are. The fact of the matter is this culture, which is practiced all over this fucking planet, is fucking ass backwards and you know it. And if you don't fucking recognize it, it's time to grow up or grow the fuck out. Because we're sick of you. And I have the fucking backbone to fucking say it. Now, continue on.
To my youth, I wouldn't say I was naive, but because I was so brainwashed. And see, I may be intelligent, but it makes no difference whether you're intelligent or lacking of common sense. It makes no difference. When you're in subordinate position, when your own flesh and blood sells you.
And it's not even so much when you're in a subordinate position. Never mind that. When you are what you could say overpowered, sure, you can use that word. When you're overpowered by the marginalization of a number of fucking dimwits who, rather than exercising sound reason and logic, and I'm not saying that folks got to be out here being saints and fucking messiahs. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is don't start no shit, won't be no shit. Own up to the fucking shit that you do. Don't project your fucking shortcomings onto, especially onto the youth, onto those who are younger than you, who have more leeway to make fucking mistakes. You can't be operating in this world and then be expecting respect of those of us who are younger than you, who don't have as much as experience in this planet, in comparison to someone who is much older than us. How fucking dare you? And it's really pathetic. And it really looks like it's more fucking embarrassing on those parts of the people who are older and then have the nerve to play these fucking retarded ass games. And yes, I called it what it is. It's retarded ass games. It's a bitch ass fucking games. Both male and females all over this planet. Just full of fucking shit. And they're embarrassing and leaving that to impression our youth, our kids. So those of us mothers and fathers who have been fucking disrespected, unfucking warranted in the realms of the disrespect and the offenses that have taken place, because honestly, I'm not really the one to give a fuck about much. But when it comes to my children, regardless of how they're born, just like how I was born out of fucking rape, like my child is born out of rape, that does not mean that fucking I don't have a right or entitlement to raise my child so that she ain't out here fucking being abused and fucking broken and battered just because the next motherfucker who's over twice my fucking age would prefer to hold on to that generational fucking trauma rather than alleviating my baby from it, as if she doesn't have a fucking right or deserve that. And folks having these children fucking don't just, they just won't accept this. They would prefer to bow down to somebody's ability to somehow normalize the degeneracy of them. And it should not matter if you have money or not. Motherfucker, stop having kids and stop putting our kids through this fucking bullshit. And if you're not capable of being a man or a woman enough to fucking honor that, then you should have no business trying to create no children. And how dare you? Of course you would prey on me when I'm much younger, just a baby, barely. Of course you would. Because you're a fucking weak ass, cowardly, just ignorant, arrogant piece of fucking trash. You know damn well that Pedro didn't deserve my fucking body, and y'all just sat around and allowed that bullshit to happen. You know damn well the fucking shit I went through I didn't fucking deserve, just like many of y'all don't fucking deserve the bullshit trauma that you went through. But at what point and at what stage are you fuckers gonna be responsible for the hell that you put your children through? Rather than fucking trying to kill them so that you can get your fucking morsels of the crumbs that you shouldn't even be entitled to for doing such treason to our babies. How fucking dare you to walk up into these institutions requesting fucking assistance while you're the goddamn devil? Huh? You fucking embarrassment. And you're twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times our age, acting a whole fucking retarded ass fool. Like you don't have no fucking dignity, because clearly you don't. You find it acceptable to put our fucking offspring through that bullshit. Like they ain't gotta say so to have some fucking function in their life. Like they have to be subjugated to the fucking dysfunction of your retarded ass culture that you want to hold on to so desperately. Just because you can bow down to some fucking material bullshit that you get or whatever because you're so fucking broken doesn't mean that our children should have to go through it or us. So when a motherfucker says enough is enough, the fuck we should be honored that, and fucking it shouldn't be no question. Leave us the fuck alone. Why don't you go be a fucking lesson for somebody else rather than trying to hold on to somebody like you're entitled to keep us as slaves and to keep us fucking all battered and shit? Fuck you. Who the fuck you think you are? Would you prefer to switch places, motherfucker? That's my point. For the people who don't know how to fucking speak up or do what the fuck is right, would you prefer to go through what the fuck you put us through? Because that is what you're entitled to. You're entitled to experience what the fuck you put us through. Unwarranted. So when I say enough is enough, and I'm a grown enough adult to go get 4 or 5 fucking jobs, rather than sabotaging everything that I fucking work hard for, you motherfuckers can mind your business and go on with your life. Rather than being a cheap ass motherfucker who gets away with being able to extort a young child from their own child, and then having nerve enough and audacity enough to go, but take me off child support, and she acquiesces like I did, and your broke bitch ass can't even be grateful for that. You then take it another notch to your fucking, just how low were you willing to go? You were willing to do a false police report. You were willing to allow another motherfucker who is not that's not her mom. What is she? Why are you allowing motherfuckers to touch my child? Why are you allowing her to be physically abused and you just sitting around like you're not a whole grown ass man? That's right, because you're not a fucking grown ass man. What you are is an immature child stuck inside a fucking male body. And clearly you don't have no fucking dignity, no rapport, because you just full of fucking shit. You want to be painted, and how embarrassing. See, I'm not a man, I don't have a penis, and obviously I'm a woman, but my point is that if I was a man, I'd be fucking embarrassed to call the damn police as a grown man to get a mother locked up for caring for her own fucking child and removing the lice that my baby was fucking infested with, and treated the infection that she had that this motherfucker didn't have the nerve enough to fucking treat or to tend to or to take her to the hospital, not until after the fuck I was arrested for absolutely nothing. You're an embarrassment. But anyways, continue.
And then, not only that, but while you're living amongst them, they make it a scene and they form this dysfunctional relationship from the very beginning, where it is lacking of trust, entirely offensive, and it is very much opposed to self-representation. And what I mean by this is, when I was a child, I was never allowed to basically voice my opinions, have my own feelings, express my feelings, and children were to be seen and not heard. This hurts me more than it hurts you. And, the typical, stereotypical, what you could say, the status quo of abuse that comes out of people of color's homes. Even though I had lived, basically middle class.
Yeah, the bullshit statements and sayings and parables that are often manufactured and passed down through the generations so as to basically keep calm and keep the skeletons in the closet while we're being abused and fucking dehumanized and degenerated. Folks use these parables and these statements to instill fear and to get us to basically align ourselves so that when we grow older, and even though as we grow older, we're a bit what can you say, at a disadvantage, because that time that was supposed to be used to learn necessary skills and traits and knowledge, what we weren't granted that. Instead, we were taught bullshit that does us no fucking service in our adult years. If anything, it does more harm to us than any good. It's absolutely non-essential fucking bullshit learned pathology. What basically, from folks being able to physically abuse their children, you're teaching your children that when they grow up to be adults, and even though many of them, as you can see in this planet, are not adults, there's some big ass kids. Nonetheless, you're teaching them that either it's okay, that physical violence is the only way of resolving anything. Like, so basically you're teaching your daughters and your sons to be violent. You're teaching your daughters that it's okay for motherfuckers to put their hands on you or to beat you. That's what you're teaching your daughters psychologically, consciously or unconsciously. It does not matter, subconsciously or consciously. That is what you're teaching them. When you beat them, when you talk to them, when you call them stupid ass, whatever, or dumb bitch, when you talk to them like that, that is what you're telling your children. They're programming that. So even though they may dislike it, and it could be, it'll come off looking like this is dysfunctional. Nonetheless, when they're left in that type of predicament, what do you suspect that your children are going to run across when they get older? They're going to go usually gravitate towards that of which they're familiar with, or if they can't find something that does make sense, they're left with, basically this just repeated cycle of fucking trauma, and nobody wants to take responsibility for it. You'd rather point the finger or place the blame or the responsibility on everyone other than the motherfucker driving your fucking car. And by car, I mean your vessel. That's your fucking car. That's your Lamborghini that you're driving, not nobody else's. So regardless if a system, regardless of a God, regardless of a devil, bitch, this is your vessel. How dare you fucking try and blame them, him, me, you, anyone except for you. You. Nobody else. Nothing else. It does not matter. It won't ever make sense because it ain't supposed to make sense. You beating the shit out of your kids that you can't fucking afford. You having these fucking systems in place where there would even need to be a word like afford. Okay?
As far as, housing and schools, like, yeah, I went to decent schools with proper education. I dressed in name brand clothes, even though I basically was humiliated, degraded, just entirely tormented since birth by people who were supposed to be my family, and they betrayed that relationship. And when you're a child, working with the elements that you have, even when you know that things that are going on are wrong, to go, where are you going to go? So when you do run away, where do you think the children end up? Who do you think is out there for those children? And why would adults in this world have an expectation that children are able to save themselves? And why is it more important to blame victims than it is to help them? So I had seen that growing up. So when I was pregnant and I conceived my child,
The answer why is it more acceptable to blame a victim rather than to assist them to get them out of that dynamic is because there's too many beneficiaries. But these, again, once again, these are supposed to be grown ass adults who are embarrassing, shameful motherfuckers that we are entitled to look down upon because they chose material over what the fuck is essential. And it's even more karmic fucking debt when you're doing it to your own bloodline. And rather than taking accountability, rather than fucking trying to clean up or to turn it around or to make sense out of what is sensible, because here's the kicker. We know that y'all know that you're wrong. Because you would not fucking try and kill us. You would not fucking try to intimidate us. You would not try to instill fear if you thought it was okay. Because why would you hide something that you consider to be acceptable, right? Go on, continue.
And there was nothing consensual. There was no love. This was a means of survival. There was nowhere else to go. I did not know how to operate within the systemic institutions and agencies. I had no idea because I had been exploited my entire life, not just from familial, but then also from those predators in the world.
And the institution.
That I was sold to and led to. Because me coming from homes where the women, the females in these families, always side with their abusive and criminal boyfriends, husbands, brothers, uncles, cousins, and sons. The males have more value and are treated as such and allowed more flexibility and more freedoms.
The males are deemed to be more valuable, but it's neither here nor there. Neither one is more valuable than the other. It is basically, it's the same. It's like the left and the right brain hemisphere. Just like you got one, you need the other. It just is what it is. Just like how you need God, you need the devil. You really do. Just like how you need black, you need white. It just is what it is. You don't put one above the other. And this is the stupidity. This is where all the fuckery start with not that it starts, but it was especially introduced with religion and with this bullshit ideology, which it's a misnomer. It's called, y'all call it patriarchal, but it's not patriarchal. Patriarchy is respectable, is a respectable culture, is a respectable operation. This, on the other hand, is fuckery. This is not patriarchy. Patriarchy would say that the men, yes, are the leaders, so to speak. That does not mean that there are not women who are leaders. That just simply means when it comes to the muscle, when it comes to the physical, that's where the man will present himself because that's where it is. Our strength, our physical leadership comes through the birthing of children and the rearing of them. And if you got a problem with that, I don't know, perhaps yell at your body or don't participate that way and find another way of being without having to demean the men from actually being that, without having to somehow, fuck up their whole design of what it is. He's given testosterone for a reason. That's not by some type of, coincidental accident or some bullshit just by, oh shit, oh, you got testosterone. No, well, nonetheless, put this fucking tutu on. And do I have anything against men who want to dress up in dresses? Yes, to a degree. When you're shoving it down the baby's throats, like, this is more important than them learning how to, I don't know, tie their fucking shoes, perhaps. Them needing to know the genitalia names is more essential than them fucking learning anything about the actual world that they're in, the planet, the earth, things that y'all teach in these fucking schools. There are great schools here. However, to get access to them requires certain types of protocol that not everybody is so fortunate to exercise for many different just ridiculous and absurd reasons. But nonetheless, that still does not take away from the fact or the possibility that folks can educate themselves, or that's where homeschooling comes in. That's where it's still the responsibility of those who create you through their sexual reproductive organs. That is not the job, and that is not an entitlement that is privileged to everybody or anybody. And if you have a problem with the education system, then go ahead and be the educator and educate your fucking kids. You don't get to ponder it off onto your government. The responsibility is yours. You had the nerve enough to lay down and have them children, or in our cases, we, had the chance of being raped and taken advantage of because we were young and vulnerable. And newsflash, buddy, just because you have weapons or you know a lot about science, you know a lot about gadgets and gizmos, and you know magic, sorcery, it don't fucking matter. Everybody is vulnerable, like it or not. Big badass, the Incredible Hulk, yes, that includes you too. All right, go ahead, continue.
Liberties to be victims, to be non-productive, to participate in to participate in toxic, dangerous, and activities that I myself was demonized for, all the while going through all the abuses. So there were just too many events, too many occasions of hypocrisy, of being let down, of being betrayed, of my cries.
Too many manifestations of double standards that you can see all throughout this fucking planet, in this system, all throughout these nations. Double standards on both sides of the fence. You see the double standards that are played out when it comes to the degree of the gender roles. You see the double standards when it comes to these so-called racial fucking statuses. You see the double standards when it comes to how much equity one does or does not have. You see the double standards when it comes to someone's so-called sexuality, or or sexual orientation. You see all sorts of double standards all over, all over. And quite literally, the way I feel about it is, um, just as much as my expectations, I don't have any. But dare I say, for the element of this class, this discussion, this relay of what I have to say, and really just a rundown of my life and the bullshit that I didn't get the luxury of, being able to represent myself, whatever, because I was too busy being, barricaded with all these fucked up, retarded ass smear campaigns. But nonetheless, we see double standards all over the place. And my thing is that as much as I don't have expectations in the aspect of this, my expectation is, if I'm to respect you and view you and honor you as someone who is of an authoritative figure, I'm expecting superior results and superior encounters with you. Otherwise, I cannot take you seriously. And honestly, I don't, until you prove to me. Just like how they say you're innocent till you're proven guilty, or quite opposite, you're guilty until proven innocent. Or, if you're a certain demographic, gender, race, blah, 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 age, you're guilty already no matter what you do. Basically. And I lived like that. And I live like this every day. And honestly, I get quite comfortable with the idea of motherfuckers hating me because I can speak more truth than they have their whole entire lives, and they're way older than me. Okay?
Being heard or attended to, and even with the involvement of agencies, this enabling and the exceptions that are made for these members of the society who, by legal definition, are criminal and are in the capacity to be charged and to
through your guys' statutes and through your color of law, these are classified as actual criminals. But it seems to be really difficult for folks to actually uphold, the words and apply them and manifest them into the physical. It only seems to be, under a heavy magnifying glass and scrutiny when it comes to those who actually are not fucking criminals. Because I damn sure know I'm not a criminal. Now, I may not be a saint, perfect angel, but I know for damn sure I've never been no fucking criminal. Ever. Anyways.
held accountable. Yet that when it comes to consequences being given, when it comes to correcting what has been done to me, who's doing it, there's just all of these pacifications, turning the eyes from the ignoring of it and the excuse making for it. It's just a ton of institutionalized gaslighting, as well as the communal gaslighting, which basically is saying and expressing to females that the disrespect and the abuse that is being done,
it's called groupthink. Okay, go ahead.
To you, even if it's witnessed, even if it's seen, even if there's evidence that the community, as well as the agencies and institutions, are willing to turn blind eyes, and then they're willing to punish the victims. They're willing to punish those who were offended, those who were harmed, those who were taken advantage of,
those who were wrong.
So they're willing to accommodate, make excuses for, and to not hold accountable those responsible for the horrific, horrible events that are done to our agencies of our bodies, of our intellect.
They're unwilling to actually, keep it real and be what the fuck they say that they claim to be, that how they move, how they want us to fucking receive them and perceive them as. I'll call you honorable when you doing honorable, but you're not doing honorable. You're being prejudiced. You're just above correction. This arrogance. I can't stand it. And nobody is above correction. If you're above correction, well then what the fuck, dude? Because it's like the way I see it is, if your heart is beating, or are you a robot? Because I mean, that's fine, that's cool, but it's like, robots ain't going out of their way to do it. These are something that have a, somebody who is um, guiding the direction of, whatever. Somebody is manipulating a device to do so, if that's the case. But my thing is if you got blood, okay, running through them veins, you got a brain inside your skull, and you move around like you humanoid, or you even present like a humanoid. Some folks say, oh, you're reptilian. Okay, what's your point? All of us got a reptilian brain. What is your point? I don't care what anybody have to say. I know at the end of the day that when it comes to these positions, and these folks study, they go to school for a considerable amount of time. So I'm not at all saying that, they're not advanced on a lot of levels. That may be so, very much so. But nonetheless, please don't expect respect, or for me to bow down, or view you as my god, or somebody who I should even honestly take seriously at all, because to me it is fake. It is. I'm so serious to engage me with something that's beneath me when there's that amount of corruption. Are you serious? I know y'all have a problem with being called out on your shit, or having to ever admit that you're wrong, but like, seriously, just as much as y'all will have point the finger and set my life up to be fucking made a mockery of, shit ain't it. Just because the other beings on this planet don't have nerve enough to fucking say it, doesn't mean that it don't need to be said, or that something doesn't need to be done. It is what it is. And if you have a problem with logic and truth, I don't understand how you consider yourself honorable, or to be of an authoritative figure. How are you authoritative if you have something, you're allergic to truth? No, you can't be allergic to truth if you're in an authoritative position. Regardless of how you feel about me or what I have to say, is it true or not? Okay? Without having to rig systems, without having to rig my life, is it true or not? Hmm? Okay? Because y'all shady as hell, a whole lots of you. And I'm, like I said, I'm not saying that I haven't made mistakes, or I haven't made errors. I have, just like everybody else has. However, the difference is that I can admit that and change it. Other folks, they admit it fucking years down the line, okay, and they still ain't changed a goddamn thing. And what the fuck is an apology but an insult to me, anyways? I don't forgive. There's a lot of shit that I cannot forgive. I can't forgive all the time, all the years that I've lost in my child's life. I won't forgive how that fucking I don't even know what the judge's name, the Asian lady. Yeah, she was the pretty Asian lady who was there for the Derek Chauvin, or one of them, maybe not Derek Chauvin, but the other one, the lady officer, the one they prosecuted. Anyways, I don't care. I think her last name Chu or something. To me, that is not a judge. How dare you scoff at me when I told you that I was abused, and then you waved your hands like, how dare you? I know that y'all know that you're liars. I know that you sit up there having the nerve enough to put on that masquerade and that fucking show. How dare you? As if that's not the story of damn near every black woman's life. Are you kidding me? For you to fucking to even attempt and to feel esteemed to do this. A whole lot of y'all as criminals. No, I'm serious. I don't care. Y'all think that y'all above it and y'all just superior. Yeah, I know what y'all been doing. Y'all don't like me because I tell the truth. Well, I don't like you because you don't tell the truth. I don't like you because you play God when you just a mere mortal being just like the rest. Okay? I don't like that shit. So if you gonna judge, I want you to judge across the board. Don't be fucking, over here making exceptions for the bullshit and thinking that, oh, that by killing one of us, or by putting us in a mental institution, that's going to stop anything from consequencing or being a result that will be brought right back to you. The very one who had the audacity to put themselves in a position for me to judge you like that. When you put yourself in a position like that, I have no other, it's my obligation and my duty to judge you, and justly. I don't judge you because of how you look or what religion you. I don't give a damn about none of that. All I'm saying is when you actually have facts, and these facts are easy to prove. Just look at the fucking majority of the demographic of people, and you tell me how the fuck did that happen? All of us was trafficked, including y'all asses up in them black robes. The hell? Including y'all, not excluding nobody. All of our asses was trafficked, even the goddamn pimps and traffickers themselves. You understand? All right, let's continue.
Vampirizing on us. Everything from our bodies to our words to our energy to our attention to our resources, finances, boundaries violated knowingly, and then to be done somewhat covertly. Sometimes it does end up where it's done overtly, and even then when it's done overtly, the ability to execute punishment, to consequence these perpetrators, I've never seen it. Even when I am complicit, even when I'm cooperative and forthgiving with information and evidence, nothing is done. It was always bypassed and kind of just shrugged off. Not kind of. It was always met with, any time that I wanted to, or that I decided to, either stand up for myself or go on to seek out help. It was met with the allegation of drug usage. That was the only thing that was ever used to attack and attempt to either silence me or to deter me from seeking further justice,
or it was used as a means to get me to feel some type of shame or some type of guilt. And here's what I gotta say: they have nerve enough to make it seem like the street illicit drugs ain't already in the pharma world. Every last one of them is already in the pharmaceutical. Whatever is in pharma, the pharmacological world, is already on the streets. Both. It's both. So when people get their panties up in a bunch about drug users, I'm gonna need y'all to go on ahead and get back to the fucking table meeting, get back to the discussion board. Because y'all acting like as if anybody is entitled to fucking feel any types of ways about anything when all types of rules have already been broken. I can't take I can't take y'all seriously when y'all don't even take yourselves seriously. How am I supposed to respect folks who don't even respect themselves? You have not fulfilled no position. What you've been doing has been nothing but the entire thing from the floor to the fucking bottom to the upper heights. It's just full of all types of fucking bullshit. And for fuck's sake, I mean, is it a whole lot to request that motherfuckers come authentically or don't come at all? Because I mean, I'm already at the point where it's like the shit's a circus to me, to be quite frank with you. I'm not the one who's afraid to die, okay? But I do got severe problems with still breathing but living like I'm dead. That's what I got problems with, and that's been what this culture has been, being having a pulse but dead as fuck, already dead, like we just coffins, moving coffins, like all vampires, lifeless, stuck to a routine because motherfuckers refuse to get over their they refuse to get over themselves. They refuse to get over their ideology that does not serve this paradigm, does not serve reality. It doesn't even serve themselves. And they so just, I mean, I don't, to me, it's kind of like, whatever. That's what you choose to do. That's your choice. But I got an issue with folks who is supposed to be grown trying to revoke the choice of others Like, y'all don't seem to apply that logic when it comes to our children being destroyed out here, but you want to somehow value some old fucking vampire who been here for far long, way been here just living old as hell. Are you fucking kidding me? So that old one over there is more valuable than the newcomer? How so? I know as a fact that new life is much more valuable than those who are withering. It just is what it is. Not saying that folks who is old, folks who is older don't deserve to carry on with their lives. Sure, you can carry on with your life, but not when it's at the expense of me fucking being traumatized. It ain't, and I'm sick of it. Whoever fucking thought it was a good idea to put the women, to put the female under some type of yoke, fuck you. That's what I'm saying. Fuck you. You can get gone. You're not needed nowhere. In no realm are you needed. Anyone who came to this ideology that it's acceptable to put this burden upon children, put this burden upon good, decent men, the few that are left, to put this burden upon motherfuckers who tell the truth, to put this burden especially upon the melanated women. How fucking dare you? Who has been sacrificing the most of the most of the most, and is only allowed to operate in general society by disrespecting herself in order to get a paycheck, which is a concept that just doesn't compute in a spiritual realm. We don't know what that even means. What are you talking about? What money? You mean that tree that you've conduced into paper? You mean them numbers that you punched into what? A database. What are you talking about? Okay, continue on.
Results, which I find to be embarrassing and insulting. First of all, to self-medicate when your entire life has been stolen due to somebody else's inability to be a responsible, respectful, integral adult who makes it their full-time job to hide, lie, and discredit those who speak up about what has been done to them, the abuses that have taken place, and then to put on this mask, and then to interact socially in the world as if they are not the toxic criminals that they really are. So to perpetuate this character as if, they're victims, and these were often males, they're victims, they can do no wrong, they can do no harm, even when there were some occasions where I would take it to court.
And don't get it twisted. Yeah, it may show up a lot in males, but that does not take away from the large population of females out here who is even more so, I say in a lot of cases, is more fucking just shameful, more shameful than the males put together. Like, how you gonna be a female yourself being this damn, what's it called, tyrannical, and just ridiculous, hateful, nothing but a purebred hater. A purebred, full-fledged, just like I said. How you gonna be a pure anything? I don't believe in pure anything. There's gotta be some element of something else included, and a whole lots of them. Just ain't no light. And if I could put it into visually speaking, in a context of this, using the imagination, a whole lots of y'all already dead. Just a walking black fucking room, nothing but blackness up in there. Just no lights. You can't find the lights. Not a candle, not a matchstick to fucking guide your way down the hall, because you don't know you run into some shit. All you is full-fledged fucking full of shit. Fake, liar, hater, fucking schemer, scammer, skeezer, treasonous, slutty, nasty, fucking decrepit, and corrupt. Cause ain't no nothing in you. Ain't no empathy within you. Ain't no fun in you. Ain't no excitement in you. Ain't no nothing. Just nothing. Just a hater. And nothing. Bitter, vengeful, pure evil. Just pure evil. And not even with no flames. There ain't no fucking fire in there. It's just fucking dark. Continue on.
And I may have won, but I'd never get a red cent. I never got any money. And then the court said, well, here in this state, we're not going to attempt to go get the money due to you, even though we're ruling in your favor. We can't enforce anybody to do anything. See, all of these so-called following of the law, but then the unfollowing of it as well. When it comes to the needed activism and protection for members such as myself, this inability or these roadblocks that seem to just all of a sudden come up to prevent.
And my whole thing is I'm all good and fine and dandy with folks feeling like they're not obligated to work on the behalf of my truth. That's fine. I don't have no problem with that. But I got an issue with is if I'm going to be employed by these agencies and money's taken from my check whether I want to give that money or not, as well as me being upheld to some type of standard in efforts of y'all being able to make rulings on me or to charge me with something. Hold on. I got an issue with this. You're within full capacity and scope to penalize me, but you don't have no responsibility in the protections for me. See, that's too one-sided for me. That's another double standard. You ain't got no problem with consequencing me or deeming me unfit or somehow trying to hold me accountable for some shit. But when it comes to some types of services or some types of you know some types of barriers in place or whatever, some type of service or providing that I would require, at some given time, especially based upon you taking and withholding so called funds from my so called checks or my earnings. I'm going to be expecting the Libra scale to be balanced around here because all I'm seeing is some one sided fuckery going on. That's what I see, just like anyone with eyes and a fucking brain can see. Like, oh, you can vilify me, but you can't what is it? You can't vindicate me. You can't vindicate me, and you can't be supportive of my right to living, free from the fuckery. But you certainly can find a way to somehow accuse me of some assumption of me being some type of criminal for meaningless and really just, if you can even call it that, it's insulting. Got all the smoke for bullshit, but don't got none of it for the real shit. And I got issues with this.
Us from getting the justice that we deserve and our due. It just seems that all of these excuses just come out of nowhere. All these limitations come out of nowhere. But then when it comes to the extensive excuses and exceptions that are made,
not that they come out of nowhere, it's that all of these excuses are thrown out and used, and they have nerve to even be uttered out of anyone's mouth or to be written upon paper with ink as this just an abundant amount of so-called excuses and twiddling of thumbs, and all of a sudden, oh, I would if I could. I don't like this jargon because it's fake and I can read through that bullshit like Windex. Okay, motherfucker, you just don't want to do what the fuck you claim that you about. Don't fucking claim that you doing some shit, especially when it comes to anything involving humanitarianism, anything altruistic, anything of integrity. And these types of positions require it. And if there is none to be produced, what the fuck are you doing? Time for a new job. And like I said, I didn't ask for folks to be employed. I could care less. As far as I'm concerned, under my regime, folks would be out here really pissed off because the education system will be revamped. I'd be saying, if you had nerve enough to bring them into this world, you better have nerve enough to figure out how you gonna educate them. And I'll be damned if you over here giving the grief to the rest of the people up in this fucking planet while your children and you are here. If I see anything or get any types of real proof, not hearsay, but real proof, and I'm gonna know the difference between something that was set up, and I'm gonna know the difference between something that is actually, you know, somebody's choice and decision. I know when somebody's responding to provocation, and I know when somebody is out here being a fucking fool of shit motherfucker. I know the difference. A lot of folks think that they're able to fucking scheme and get over on people and try and perpetuate the imagery, but I can see through. I see through that shit. Okay, I got 20/20 vision of that shit. I know who the real guilty culprit is in all them situations. I may not know it at the very first glance, but I already know when a motherfucker's lying to me. I know from the very beginning when somebody's lying to me. And motherfuckers have been lying. The whole life just been a lie, all types of lies, and fabulous lies. I'll tell you this: they're really imaginative, creative, and they've just got a lengthy assortment of excuses piled up high, ready to disperse, as if they have any types of legitimacy when they don't. They do not. And I don't like lies, and I don't like liars. I like lies when it's truthful lies. And there's a difference. You should know the difference between when it's just a bold-faced lie or when it is a truthful lie. Sometimes you have to lie. This is true. Sometimes you do. Like, oh, well, one day I'm gonna have a bank account that looked just like Oprah Winfrey's. That this is wishful thinking, and this is also in the reality of the lie. I'm not going to have a bank account that looks like Oprah's. Here's another extraordinary lie, but not discrediting it or saying that it's not possible. I'm gonna have a bank account that surpasses Oprah Winfrey's. Okay, okay, okay. Is it a lie? Basically, it is, but it's a truthful lie.
Free these criminals and allow them to gain access to our children with the help of these institutions that many claim are oppressing them. Many claim that they're targeted by. Many claim to not communicate with them, don't go to them. And really, they're not lying when they say don't go to them. Because the situations that have occurred in my life where I've been blatantly and outrightly treated with such contempt for my experience and then met with open disbelief and discredit as if it's unrealistic to accept.
No, just experiencing and engaging with some colluders. That's what that is. So then they act as if they don't know what you're talking about, and then they act like they don't know what I'm talking about or you are talking about. They pretend they're half-ass pretenders. They're really not that good at pretending. They act like they give a fuck and they don't. And that's on a nice day. Most of them won't even ask. A lot of them will find a way to kind of jab you or kick you when you down type of thing, where it's like, oh, well, they'll find a way to somehow make it your fault. You could have just been shot 2 times in your left leg, and they'll find a way to blame it on you. Okay? And that's these motherfuckers out here in this world who just do all this just ridiculous bullshit. They place the value over material things as well as status, which is another one of those ideologies that really, honestly, seriously, they put status and imagery and material resources and, it's just a culture. It's a cultural appropriation of ideologies that serve no true value other than what the majority gives it. The majority gives it that value, but ultimately, is it really as valuable as a beating heart with a live pulse, a newborn child? um no, it's not. And the fact that many people consider it to be more precious than the actual living being is why the fuck I don't care who don't like me and who hates me, who wishes me dead. Fuck you. I know what I'm talking about. And if you're not on that level, you're not even fucking qualified to be existing nowhere in the first place, because that would mean and imply that you are not an adult, and I don't understand why you still here. How can you be here for this long, perpetuating and honoring this disgraceful abomination of what y'all call a way of life? That's life. Oh, it's life, and life isn't fair. Life is very fair, motherfucker. Stop lying. Life is extremely fair. Y'all ain't. Get it right. You guys are not fair. Life is extremely and more than fair. Okay? And if you don't understand that, grow up or grow out.
The truth that just because you have melanin in your skin and you're a female does not mean that you cannot hurt, does not mean that you cannot be raped. And the statistics are outstanding. Women. And even the statistics with what's reported.
This applies to women, males, children, but especially it's heavily this is something that women, females are experiencing more so than males because of how easy it is for the males to group up together as fucked up as a lot of them are, and then they take out their fucked up dysfunction against those men, again, the few that are here, and then either they convert them into being a misogynistic asshole like them, they bully them into that, or they basically break them down to the point of either they commit suicide, or they kill them, or they put him into isolation because he'd prefer to be amongst himself rather than to be operating in such dysfunction. There are some few who go on to greater things and say fuck all that, this is gonna make me rise above it, and I'm going to, despite all of the death threats, despite all of the fuckery, I'm going to speak on behalf of truth. Not very many take that path because of the you could say threat, but because of the use and the pressuring of these dysfunctional, immature ass, fucking lame ass motherfucking males who refuse to be men. They refuse. They said, "Will you will you will you honor will you honor your higher power?" He said, "I refuse." "Will you respect the woman?" "I refuse." That's what he said. That's what they said. "I refuse." "Will you submit?" "I refuse." Because in order to be a great master, you must first know what it means to be led. And if you don't follow instruction to some degree, now within reason, of course, you don't want to follow just anyone's instruction, but you must first be a student before you're actually an educator teacher. And if you're not willing to be on the other side of that spectrum, then you're not really honorable or worthy of being in a position of being a so-called master. You must first know what it means to be on the other side of that spectrum before you can ever be of reason, or of to be of standard to fulfill that position. And if you don't know what it means to be on the other side of the spectrum, what are you doing? Because you're missing your training. So for folks who were born into wealth who don't know what it means to go without, you're not wealthy. For folks who are born into this or born into that and have not experienced on the other side of the spectrum, you're not worthy to be considered a leader, to be considered a person of authority, if you don't know what it means to be on the other side of that spectrum. So yeah, I could even go and imply for those who are protectors of people. You must first have known what it meant to either be vulnerable or to be someone who was unable to protect in order to understand, to fulfill that position. What I'm not implying is that it's a one size fits all, but I am saying that in order to be an effective of whatever it is that you're doing, you must know the duality of it. If you have not experienced the opposite, or what humans can classify and consider as the opposite or other spectrum, the far out of the spectrum, then you don't know. Same applies for women and men. Just as much as I'm a woman, I have not experienced, but then again, I think, to a degree, we have. I think women universally have basically been subjected and basically left no other option but to be men or to be masculine because of the lack of respect, or because of the lack of willingness to comprehend that we are not objects. And how dare you when you come from us? Okay?
I would say definitively that the melanated woman is in a percentile of 90% of females that are melanated were touched, inappropriately abused in some form or fashion while they were a minor. It is 90%. I can say that. There's just no doubt in me. It is 90% and upward. The reason being, because this condoning and then this culture, which has allowed and has normalized the open expression of traumatizing, harming, and vampirizing off the melanin female agency body, the woman, to openly disrespect the melanated females, the girls, to not go on charging offenders correctly for harming their own daughters, someone else's daughter, for trafficking the daughters, and then to add further insult to injury by incarcerating what you call prostitutes, which are not. They are exploited. They are coerced. A lot of times, the ones who so-called, it's an assumption that they willingly go in to go do sex work, which it's paid rape. If even that, it's really not even a payment, really. Those are crumbs. $1,000 really isn't nothing, and not even to get into a discussion about prices. The cost of living, okay? And the strategy to escape peril, to escape a nightmarish route, to escape that is difficult to do when you've got so many measures that are stacked up against her. You have a willful participation in gaslighting her, a willful participation of the collective in silencing her, a willful participation in over-talking her, trying to correct her. That's what happened to me, so I know it happens to her. A willful participation in the abuses, taking advantage of and exploiting of the agency of the melanated female's body. So much so that she's not allowed to be a child when she is a child. She does not enjoy the freedom of being a child, let alone a teenager. She doesn't get to enjoy the ability and inevitable chances of making mistakes because she's held at such a standard that no other gender, no other race or ethnicity is held to this standard. The melanated woman is held to a standard that no one else is held to. She's expected to be strong, to be resilient. Well, she's resilient by default because she has no choice but to be resilient in efforts of survival. She has the expectation to not complain and to be a commodity, to disregard her feelings, her wants, her needs, her desires, sacrifice her femininity, and then to adopt and inherit masculinity in efforts not just of survival, but then to defend and protect those children, the same children who these institutions have allowed criminals, predators to infiltrate, access the services of, and then to make it so complex to even just sit down and discuss as I am doing right now, and then for the sense of common sense, for the sense and the admittance of intellect and logic, evidence, facts of the living condition, the state of living for a melanated child and woman, to discredit our truth, to discredit our values, and then to attack it, go on doing smear campaigns, and then riding on the coattails of mentally unstable, outspoken, or tone, or delivery of communication, or the usage of drugs, or children out of wedlock, without ever recognizing, first of all, that her usage of drugs is the least problems of this world. When you are being battered and basically acclimating and settling to living amongst batterers, abusers, exploiters, the very people who degrade her, but thrive off of her, and thrive off of her pain. They profit off of her pain. They profit off of her agony. They profit off of her mistakes. They profit off of her vulnerabilities. They profit off of her impoverished financial situation. They profit off of her sex, her body, profit off of her intellect, her intellectual property, her physical property, the assimilation of such, the decorum of such, her energy, everything of her artifice is exploited, devalued, disrespected, degraded, and then marginalized as a means of entertainment. It has been socially accepted that it is a form of entertainment to be of witness and to record, to laugh at, to sell, resell, repackage. Her humiliation, her reality of humiliation, degradation, and dehumanization. These false beliefs that she cannot feel pain the same way that other ethnicities of women can. And then the stupidity and inferiority of these misogynistic, sexist, and racist propaganda and half-ass science. Deplorable science, really. Quack doctor ideologies. So then, when it comes to her standing up and demanding justice, or so be it, when she seeks out to achieve this justice by taking the matters into her own hands when she's been ignored, she's already called 911s, she's been to the precincts, she is mocked with responses of allegedly when she is speaking about her child, her having experienced all of the abuse, knows the red flags of when her child is being abused. So when she goes to you and your agencies, your institutions, seeking services, seeking some type of assistance to put a stop to the toxicity and dysfunction, she's met with this male-centered gaze of a willingness to enable this predatory behavior, and then this unfair, unjust dynamic in exchange of power, where she's left to fend for herself, where she's left to having to figure it out. And then, such as myself, left having been separated from my child for over 3 years now. 3 years, and then incarcerated during the pandemic in a cell for over 6 months, over periods of time, due to perjury on behalf of an abuser who is reported as being a victim, which is embarrassing, a damn lie, and shameful. But nonetheless, sitting in a cell, locked, 23 hours a day over a 6-month period of time for simply going to get her own child, who was born out of wedlock, who was born out of rape, out of non-consensual survival, what you guys want to filter in as sex, and it is not. It is not sex. It's rape. It's taking advantage. This male who has my child, who has two other children that he can barely do for them, never married their mother, living in another woman's apartment with her and her son who is abusive and inappropriate with my child. This male comes here illegally with two other children who he is not providing for, not sufficiently, he cannot afford it, living in another woman's living space in her quarters with another woman's child who's inappropriate with my child, where my child is basically raising herself with technology, which is rampant with all forms of predators. When I'm arrested, I sit in jail. Even after disclosing that I was trafficked, I was abused as a child. My daughter is not a child from a consensual relationship. Regardless to that being disclosed, it was more essential to keep me locked up in a cell 23 hours a day, while there were predators, rapists, those with long rap sheets being released during the pandemic, sent off to go be on house arrest, sent off to, attend their court appearances using their webcams on Zoom. This was not extended to me, and it should have been. Like, oh, can you make bail? Well, I could have made bail, except there was a heroin addict, an informant, a snitch, and a female trafficker who felt totally entitled and, of course, had no self-control, went on to go steal, swindle that money, and went and spent it at a tobacco store. This was supposed to be a Native American female, but she classifies and identifies herself as white. None of my business. My issue is that I sat in jail for hitting my daughter. I was accused and ended up pleading guilty simply because I could not tolerate sitting in that cell for 23 hours a day when I have the diagnosis that I do and I need my medication, even though I was, prior to being arrested, in the year of 2017, the very same judge who, for some reason or another, was a participant of the granting of the custody to this abuser, the male who now has my child, was in a...
Elizabeth V. Cutter ordered me under a Jarvis order, and she's just somehow managed to be the very judge who granted a motion in October 2019, which is the time that I was arrested, which allowed the one who was here illegally, who absconded from those two children that he left a minor child with. She was 14, this grown adult male who entered here illegally and raped me, abducted me, and went on to do a smear campaign and all types of sabotaging in order to either teach me a lesson, to attempt to kill me. I was nearly murdered. I was sexually assaulted in my apartment. This was in 2017. Now, anyways, I'm going to try to make this simple so we don't get scrambled up with the timeline. So, 2012, I basically was on my own, and that put me in a vulnerable position. Um, I got pregnant. I had a child. By the time I had my baby, I could finally see what type of situation, and by see, I literally mean to see what type of situation I was actually in. It took me being abused in front of my child in order for me to recognize, to actually visually get a good glimpse, because when you're in the midst of it and it's just you, it's not the same as compared to when you have a younger child to take care of. And my daughter was watching. hmm So I did what I could. I tried. I basically was like, I need my own place. I need my own space. And I think that was the start of what pissed him off, was the fact that I wanted to move on with my life. Now he says, "Oh well, I had a new boyfriend and stuff." Regardless if I did or didn't have a boyfriend, that has nothing to do with it. He wasn't my husband. The things that he was able to get away with, and to think that I had some type of sympathy for him simply because he was a damn immigrant. Okay, because they really do. They these abusers will they're really good salespeople. They should really get into the business of sales because they'll really sell you a storyline that just you'll almost be convinced. But nonetheless, I basically tried to co-parent with him after being able to leave out of my fucking slavery, only to be met with such disregard and disrespect. Whereas whether it was him or the cult faux family, I don't know. I don't care. It probably was all of them because they all fucking backstabbers and evil. So it is what it is, and they frauds, fake ass Christians in the public eye, but they ain't none of that. If that's what it means to be a Christian, maybe that's what it means to be a Christian is to be a fucking evil motherfucker. That's what it means. That's fine, but nonetheless, um, just all types of events that were happening one after another. And see, I was too busy working. I was working 4 to 5 different jobs at a time because I figured, it's better than having to be um, under basically this domination of having to sell my body and having to be someone else's fucking slave. I didn't want that shit. I wanted my so-called liberty, and I was okay with working for it. I was okay with earning wages. I was all right with that. But then things just kept going wrong. Of course, these things were being strategically done. These were not just coincidences. So, the messing, rigging with the car, um, getting me fired from my jobs. I don't know how they managed to do a lot of different things, but they managed to do it, or whatever their connections probably helped with the fucking judges and government. Fuck them. Karma. I call instant karma on everyone who was involved with trying to sabotage and ruin my life. And times three, by the power of three, return everything that motherfuckers wished, intend, did, and set me up for. Let it go on head and reverse and fucking play out in their lives and see to it. Instant karma and instant justice. Anyhow, so basically, long story short, after all of these the small catastrophes started leading to medium catastrophes, then led to bigger catastrophes. So the destabilizing of my stabilizing. So as I was working, earning wages, keeping up, for the most part with my responsibilities, those things started to diminish, which basically weakened my ability to maintain my stability, maintain in contact with my daughter, basically going through court, all types of stuff, just all types of stuff. The court was basically because of eviction, all of that. In the meantime, do you think that the rapist was helping me to stay afloat? Hell no, because he's the one fucking perpetuating, organizing this fuckery. Of course he's not helping. He's happy to fucking be employing these operatives, all the while pretending like, well, I don't know what's going on. And of course, I'm sure he felt some type of pride or some type of achievement that, like, yeah, oh, I was able to do this to someone who was way younger than me, and she doesn't know because I guess maybe for me, because I had lacked the experience of being on this earth in comparison to his. I didn't have as much advancement as he did. Not, and he ain't even advanced. He thinks he's advanced, but he's not even advanced. See, that's not advancement. Coming against the female is already cowardly. And on top of that, taking advantage of a beautiful one like me, oh no, you already a bitch ass motherfucker. And then having to call the cops like you a whole bitch, yeah, you not advanced, you are lame, is what you are. You're lame, you're weak, and the only way that you could be able to take advantage of me is through the use of all of these devices and people willing to help you. It goes to show how weak y'all asses is. Y'all the ones who needed to go out your way to try and sabotage all my hard work and effort. You ain't never seen my ass ever go out of my way to try and come against y'all. Why? Because y'all ain't doing shit for me to fucking try to destroy nothing in the first damn place. The only thing is that you're holding my daughter hostage. That's the only thing. But look at you. You're not bettering her life. You're not teaching her anything that I can't teach her. I learned your language, but you couldn't learn this one. You couldn't learn this language, but I learned yours. How is that? Hmm. Advanced? Shows how advanced you are. So, anyways, and this is not to brag, it just is what it is. These are facts. My facts don't give a fuck about nobody's feelings. My channel ain't the place to be at if you got fucking feelings about the truth. Get it moving. So, anyways, like I was saying, all of these catastrophes led up to basically dismantling me, making me out to be crazy, putting me in a compromising position so as to weaken the relationship between my daughter and my advancement and successes, achievements in life. As if I wasn't entitled to bettering myself, right? As if I wasn't entitled to ownership over my own fucking vagina, over my own breast, over my own beauty. I mean, I had lost all my baby weight. I was nice and slim. I could have considered myself the perfect fucking weight. I was like down to like maybe 130. I was gorgeous. My skin was glowing, like no acne, no nothing. I was doing wonderful. But no, we can't have you happy and beautiful. Oh no, how dare you? And single and not owned, not a slave. Because I didn't fit the trope of being some little dumb reject black bitch. No, because first of all, I'm not a reject black bitch. Understand this. You know, you guys can say whatever you want to say. Just because I'm brown don't mean fucking have to classify as any of that. Are you forgetting about my German side too, motherfucker? Because if we don't include the so-called black part, if we can even call it that, then you better include all of the rest of my genealogy then, because that's extensive. We don't just get to stop at one. What y'all think you think that I am, you don't even know what I am. And even when you thought that you knew what I am or who I am, you still don't know. Okay? So, anyways, yeah, what a lame ass motherfucker. He did all this shit, had me set up so many times to get me arrested. But nonetheless, so the judge, right? I was locked up at HCMC Hospital. And I mean locked up because that's what happened. Fucking, long story short, let's just go. I don't even want to go through the whole traumatic event of how I ended up in the hospital, but I could tell you it wasn't no damn suicide. And even if it was a fucking suicide, you don't treat motherfuckers who do suicide like they're criminals. People don't commit suicide. I mean, some maybe do out of their guilt, but people don't commit suicide who work their asses off, having all them jobs, got a child, out of nowhere just because. You don't go from being a beautiful, remarkable woman to just trying to go kill yourself. That is not what, no. If anything, if anything, when you see a suicide survivor who has a child, that is a coerced murder. That is a covert murder. That is what that is. Don't no mother or father go out and kill themselves just because life gets too hard. No, 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 no. There was a whole lot of fuckery behind that, a whole lots of smear campaigns, a whole lot of sabotaging, a whole lot of offenses was done. And just because what you see on the surface level doesn't seem like, anything to question, that's because you lack the capacity to be inquisitive. I know for a fact that a mother or father, okay, who work their ass off and put that much effort into anything is not just going to go up and kill themselves just because. Doesn't happen. Now there might be some folks who, due to the reality of judgment coming to them, or because they're trying to escape having to deal with facing the truth, they would prefer to go kill themselves. Now that's a bitch move. That's some cowardly ass shit. But either way, in either event, I am very much pleased with the outcome. Either way, I'm fine with this. But I'm talking about mothers and fathers, children, anybody who puts in that much effort to do anything is not. That's not a suicide. And even if it was a successful suicide or an unsuccessful suicide, anytime you see those outlying dynamics where there's abuse or they're an outcast, they were scapegoat, black sheep, you see anytime that you see them concentrated in an effort of doing anything that is not considerably corrupt, if they're actually taking the time to go working jobs, if they're taking the time take care of their appearance, if they're taking the time to buy their children, when that is not what you're looking at. That is not no suicide. That's called a covert murder, and it should be evidence that if it is classified as a suicide, it would prove that whoever is interacting with that being is an abuser. Because what else are you running from? Why else would you kill yourself? For what? Huh? Is there a particular reason? Was there a suicide note that was left behind? Because generally, folks be leaving suicide notes. And did y'all discover a suicide note of mine? Of course you did it. So you think that I'd just leave my daughter behind without no type of nothing, no video or nothing to say? Hi, baby. I'm sorry, mommy. No, of course not. Because, like I said, either way, if you want to honor the lie or the truth in either event, y'all asses is under judgment. Whether your system can do it or not, it don't matter. Judgment. All of us got to deal with the consequences of our actions. And unfortunately, when engaging with us, others who have the nerve enough to attach themselves to us, knowing damn well they're not even worthy to be up in the same room as us, them too, due to their inability to practice some damn maturity or some damn reasonable logic and common sense. Not fucking getting involved in government affairs, not going to these agencies, not going to these institutions, to these fucking courthouses. If you actually knew how to be, sovereign beings who had the discipline and ability to self-govern, rather than fucking doing some fucking ass backwards under table fucking underhanded bullshit like y'all typically generally like to conspire to do, thinking that you're above the law. And I tell you and I assure you, ain't nobody, and I don't care how much money you got, what status you think you have, nobody is above it. Nobody is above correction. Nobody is above the law. I know that y'all believe and convince yourselves to believe that somebody's above it. Nobody's above it. So continue on, my darling. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So the same judge who said, "Oh, you need to be committed," was the same one who gave this one, who ain't even supposed to be here. He's here illegally. He was deported in 2006 supposedly, and if that's the case, nobody wants to tell me what was the issue behind that. Why was he deported, and why is he back here, and why is he having more children when he's broke as hell? He ain't even got a fucking vehicle. What the fuck is this? And y'all allowing this? So you get to rape a 14-year-old and abandon that 14-year-old, which is a child with two children, as a child raising two children. You're not fucking paying them financially, supporting them, not doing none of that. So then you have nerve enough to come over here and prey upon me, and then society accepts it, normalizes it, even enables it, acts like they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about when they do. It's this bullshit where our lives have to be expended at the expense of our hardship for y'all to have government programs, for you guys to have incentives, for you guys to have a fucking career. Really? That's the epitome of what my life has to be reduced down to, so that you have a purpose in life? As if I don't have a purpose, as if I don't have goals and a destiny to fulfill. So y'all think that y'all bullshit corruption is more valuable than my dignity and right to fucking evolve out of the fucking hell that I literally was born into? You mean? Can't nobody fucking reduce my intelligence to nothing. I know what the fuck I'm worthy of, and I wasn't worthy of this type of disrespect. Fuck you mean?
Team effort of ensuring that he got custody. It was the same judge who in 2017 had ordered me incompetent and had placed me on a Jarvis order, which is it's basically probation with mental health courts, as if I was a criminal. Mind you, I was placed on this Jarvis order, commitment, because I was allegedly a suicide survivor. Now, hold on. They had said that I was a suicide survivor, and due to what they say was me trying to take my own life, and according to them, several times trying to take my own life. What does that say? In the reports, whether it had been from the police reports or from the medical reports, this contempt, willingness to call me schizophrenic, psychosis, bipolar, because of my religious beliefs, or what they assume to be my religious belief, taking communication out of context, and never making note of the medications that they injected me with and what influence that would have been on my psyche, what side effects come from that. So when they're saying that they put me on a commitment because I was a danger to myself or society, and I was considered incompetent, which by legal definition, incompetence means that you or I am incapable of making a clear, conscious choice and decision, which would make a contract null and void, which would mean that because I'm incompetent and I cannot understand what's going on in the real world, that this piece of paper or whatever is being signed, whether it be, custody, this, that, or the third, it's not even permissible and it's not valid because I'm not competent. And that was in 2017 by the same judge who ordered me incompetent and was more hell-bent on dragging me and saying that I was an addict and, wanted to make it just this huge driving point that I was an addict and I used. I was an addict and I used. Like, okay, what's your point? Even if I was, wouldn't it make a whole lot of sense? If you've been abused from your childhood still to this very day, so much to the point that either it was an attempted murder or a suicide, whichever the situation is, that is where you're supposed to help, not criminalize, not to handcuff to a bed, not to handcuff to a metal cot, not to hold someone against their will, not to wait months and weeks later to do a rape kit, not to make it your essential point to label someone as mentally unstable and dangerous with their own child, and then make it, let's just keep on highlighting this about the drugs. But then when it comes to the reporting and the disclosing of the trafficking, the abuse, the truth, everything is in quotation marks, and they could not even spell, and I'm telling you this for a reason, in those reports where there was just so many micro-aggressive assaults and attacks on my character and my mental awareness. They couldn't even spell traffic right. They
To discredit
wanted
me.
so desperately to make it seem in all these events like it was just the drugs. Every single exchange, that was the only direct attack or crutch that they really had. And that when it came to the abuse, it was written and spoken about as if, yeah, right. Because this is the mentality of supposed to be authorities, supposed to be community members, supposed to be people who live in this world, in this society. This is a lot of people's mindset. Is, yeah, right. What do you mean, yeah, right? Look at sex trafficking. Look at the sex traffickers. Where are they going? Where are the consumers? Who's going to see these girls? And who is
Or boys.
recruiting these girls? Why are the girls recruiting other girls? Why are there so many missing girls that nobody's even mentioning or speaking
They
of?
ain't missing.
Why would you prefer to criminalize and punish someone who is selling their body for an amount of money to eat and survive and consider it a crime? But when it comes to her vocalizing, look, I'm here because of this or I'm here because of that.
And they acting
really
like
no-
they ain't doing the same damn thing when you get married. What's the difference? Ain't it basically the same type of result to some degree? To some degree, except maybe there might be more exchanges or different encounters with different people. But it's like, okay, to survive, and not saying that that's the main purpose of why folks get married, because let's keep it real. There's a lot of dudes marrying females and making use of her resources and taking advantage of her benefits. So let's not make it seem like all men just as kings and they got all the castles and shit. It's not even, that's not even accurate, because as I can see it, fucking just like how there are women who are codependent or very dependent upon men. You see it also on the other side, is there's a lot of folks taking advantage of women or making use of her resources. She's the breadwinner and supposed to be the diva. Like, hold on, what, really? Or the alimony, they divorce and then he ends up getting some type of payment and all types of, so whatever. It's just like whatever. Either way, the way I see it is that in just about any aspect, that just like how males can be exploited, but it's usually when they're usually exploited, misguided, and directed, and under the authority of other males or some very brutish ass females who, whatever. I won't even get into that. Or you have it to where it's like women having to sacrifice everything, every damn thing. She's expected to work as a wage earner, as well as when she gets home, she has another job. Whereas for males, it's one job, okay, in society, and then you get to be home and whatever. I mean, some folks, I mean, what I see most predominantly is that it just is very much unbalanced. And I see a whole lot of females who, you know, who are apex predators, who are disrespectful, misogynist, and then you also have those who are male minded. Uh, they see men as or males as if they can do no wrong, but females are always to blame. And I think this, honestly, I believe this comes from either conditioning or it comes from basically this stance of being an oppressor as someone who's oppressed, or because maybe it's done as a survival mechanism because at least I won't be scapegoated. So I'll project this burden onto someone else, but especially a female because it's easier to do. She's a little bit more vulnerable. She's not as brutish or unruly as some males would be like, hell no, fuck you mean, and will act a damn fool, which but it still happens to males too, acting like there aren't males who aren't out here being domestically abused or being exploited children. It don't matter, by their feet, by their mothers too. That's where a lot of them learn their misogyny from, more so than their fathers, if they even were raised with one in the household. Like, let's keep it real, a lot of males didn't even have any healthy male relationships or bonds. A lot of their elders or so-called models that were supposed to be role models are so fucking assholes, and they didn't really have healthy relationships, so they just passing on the fucking baton in this fucking dysfunctional rat race where we don't get to do much honorable living. Some do, but not too many. A lot of us out here trauma bonded, traumatized, pledging allegiance to fucking faux families. A lot of folks care more about what their their crazy ass families have to say. The ones who refuse to address the problem, and it's always something. You get around during the holidays to act as if y'all are, some tight knit family when you're not. You're full of shit. Y'all gossip about each other. Y'all are evil as hell to each other. You got all types of all these secrets that are just killing your kids, killing the elders. Some of them holding on to shit and they take it to the grave with them, which is like, okay, refusing to get therapy, refusing to even, seek anything, to do anything to alleviate themselves from guilt, from shame, from the toxicity, taking the Kool-Aid and the chicken wing to be assholes to either someone within their own family or someone who they don't know shit about, but they were told something so they believed it, or because they took an oath. And I'm getting real sick and tired of these fucking oaths. Look, I like oatmeal, I don't take oath. The only oath I'm taking is underneath the premise of truth, pure unfiltered truth. That's who I take an oath with. Okay. And as far as I'm concerned, truth is the most powerful, most potent one around here. That's the only one that I honestly will be honored. Your honor, the truth. And I don't care if it comes from a child, an animal, from a cat, if it comes from a dog, if it comes if it comes from a tree. I like the truth. That's who I'm obedient to it, and I don't understand how anyone could find any type of comfort or loyalty in disloyalty. I mean, if you corrupt that, that already tells you where's the oath? How can you take an oath with folks who don't even operate underneath the any agency of truth? Any so many ties to just falsehoods, false promises, and false beliefs. I can't honor that, but I will honor the truth. I take an oath to the truth. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Anyways, go on ahead.
Truth in the deciphering of the enslavement of the female body. Now, this goes across the board. This isn't just now just a melanated thing, but the profiting off of the melanated agency of the body of the female is indisputably incomparable. You have far too many statistics, evidence, witnessing. If you would just only open your mind and your eyes and somehow to postpone and extract the discrimination and this offensive, inferior, and nefarious objective of a mindset that allows you to tolerate the open, unregulated, and the unconsequenced the reality of the majority of the melanated women and females.
And
She is,
and females in
more
general.
often than not, exploited in some form or fashion. The reason why it's so easy to do it, because she has been almost as if caricatured into a role of her being an adult when she's a child, of her being a child, of her being a child when she's an adult, of somehow being deserving of the disenfranchisement of her and her children. So if you can see the violation of some other female or male of a different shade, of different features, of a different aesthetic, but you cannot see it when it's happening to the melanated woman, then I know that you are lying. I know that you are condoning this, and I know that you are wrong. And instead of at least just being like, you know what, fuck them black bitches, y'all ain't shit, to hell with all of you, as long as I can get my dick sucked, and then I can lock you up for it on Tuesday, no problem with me, keeps putting money in my fucking pockets. That's the type of reality that the children, the female, the melanated female experiences from the moment she steps into this world or is birthed into this world. That is the reality that she has been offended and oppressed with. So that when she goes up to speak up about things, about the harm that's been done to her, and all the times where she's been ignored, she's been discredited, not believed, not taken seriously, not protected, and then when it's too late, it's just too damn late. And people make fun of it like it's a joke, as if the sacrificing of her very breath was necessary and somehow excusable. The raping of her body, the pillaging of her body, how it's funny. It's a source of entertainment to watch a melanated female, child, woman being beaten. Look at Tina Turner. Okay, what's love got to do with the movie? And how many jokes that have been made? It's funny, right? Hurting the black female is a source and form. It's a passing of time. It's a free time. It's something that is packaged, sold, resold, perpetuated, culturally accepted. The desensitization of the mind of the humans, or whatever we are considering you. You guys have enabled, allowed, perpetuated, and pacified. Considered perfectly acceptable to participate, consume, and cannibalize off the female, woman, and child's body. And you have the nerve to tell me, no, that ain't happened. Well, look at you. Look at how you dress. Stop being fast. Shouldn't have more of that. Should know better. These are the standards I'm talking about. The expectations that are not placed upon any other gender or any other ethnicity of female. All of a sudden, compassion, a willingness to be considerable, have compassion, to be lenient, all of a sudden is extended when it's a different aesthetic or gender. But when it comes to her, she's held as if the harm that's done to her is her fault when it's not. And this is the embarrassing reality, truth, that the female body and the agency of her has been burdened with for too damn long. And you guys are going to sit around and act as if your bullshit and your stupid ass topics and agendas are more important than her and us and myself. That your sexual depravity supersedes logic and justice. That your corrupted, plagiarized, and altered religion and the cherry picking of when you're going to use it or refuse it is more important than her and her liberation. See, I refuse to be loyal to any type of people. I'm not loyal to anybody just because of how they look. I'm not loyal to anybody just because of what they have. Quite frankly, I'm so disappointed with the people on this planet. How you could be so intelligent, be so skilled, have all these talents, all these abilities, but yet you don't realize to what extent you benefit off of my agony. But then you have the nerve to want to penetrate me, to want to so-called employ me, to pay me less for doing a better job or equal, for expecting me to not be capable of making mistakes. Stolen are our childhood, stolen innocence, stolen confidence, stolen visibility, stolen our bodies, our minds, our spirit, our culture, our legacy, our history, our ancestry, our truth. Stolen. And the best you can do, the only thing that you have the energy or nerve, capacity to do is to betray me and my child, to not stand up for what's right. Because it seems to me that too many of the people on this planet, you guys, when it comes to doing what's right, it's like it's the last resort when you finally do it. And then by then it's like all of that. Now, what type of, how can I call you in honor? How could I address you respectfully when you don't have any for me? You have no respect, but you thrive and cannibalize off of every aspect and essence of the melanated female, child, and woman's agency. You discredit her, profit off of her suffering, and then have the damn nerve to shout and cry and do all of these routines distractions, manipulations, as if to stall what you know is the right thing to do. This like really strange need to control, but it's like this weirdness. It's weird, and it's really, to me, quite frankly, I was an adult before I got to be an adult. You know, I don't mind being a black sheep, even if that means socially, culturally. I'm fine with that. I'm okay with being a grown, wise, beautiful, intelligent, melanated woman. I'm fine with that. I can stand alone on that. I don't need your validation. I know that I'm honest, and I did not deserve, and I still don't deserve you guys' patriotic. It's like you're very patriotic when it comes to your chaotic behavior. But you want me to see you as a citizen, you want me to see you as all of these titles of what you consider yourself to be within these agencies. I cannot see you as such when you're not willing to do what needs to be done. And you're going to sit here and chastise me over drugs? So you mean to tell me that you could find compassion for those who were abusing the opiates, but you could not find compassion for me? Raped, enslaved, abused every day, locked up for crimes that I've never done, bringing birth to a child who was not born from love, born out of wedlock, to an impoverished immigrant who gained entrance illegally, leaving 2 other children who he is neglecting currently, and then holding my child hostage only to neglect her currently. Chastise me, punish me, keep me in a cell for over 6 months period of a time. 1 hour out to myself to walk around on some concrete and go back in my little orange jumpsuit, while you're allowing those with long and violent and terrible rap sheets and charges to go home during the pandemic and allow them to attend court on web camera in a Zoom meeting. But yet when I'm experiencing anxiety panic attacks in the courtroom and I take myself home because you guys are not respecting, first of all, that commitment, that Jarvis order should have had me in the courts of the so-called mental health. That's where that was supposed to take place. But because of this, it seems as if it might be maybe just a form of pleasure to torture, to abuse. It's an abuse of power. It really, to me, just comes off as a lack of maturity, a lack of internal development, especially mentally. It shows a lack of character, really. It's as if there ever was any monicum of integrity or valuable assets in regards to a personality and character, it's depleted and lacking or non-existent in several members of agencies, whether that be institutionally or from the community. But yet wanting to be seen and recognized as having these attributes, but never doing good or following through with the upholding and the actual enacting of those virtues, values, and personality. In all reality, it's just a constant, negligent, discriminate, prejudiced, misogynistic, sexist, and enabling of criminals and punishing of those who are vulnerable. And then not taking seriously those who honestly are professionals and know. We know more than you'll ever know, but we both know, or we all know. So the fact that you're condoning of this disgusting, depraved, savagery form of existence, such as the enabling of child predators, the enabling of sexual deviation and depravity, the ignoring, silencing of the harm that's being done all over these United States. You're united in injustice, united in the disrespect of her, me, my child, but divided on anything else of an upstanding character. There's no honor. There's no honor. There's no integrity. No truth. No honesty. Nope. No justice. Certainly not any peace. No accountability. No willingness to be wrong. It's another thing. It's like it's damn near impossible for you guys in these communities, for you in the communities, and you in the institutional agencies, for you to admit that you're wrong. Correct it. Instead, you go through great lengths, and it's costly, and it is expensive. It's a waste of resources that could have been used for something else, more purposeful, rather than to harm and torture me for the harm and torture that's already occurring to me and my child. And the best thing you can do is prolong, keep on waiting for dates, keep on waiting and waiting and waiting. So when I call you and you don't come, when I ask you to do a welfare check and you don't do it, when I go to your face and I tell you, look, I need you to do this, the red flags are there. My daughter left me distressed, leaving in a truck of men who I'd never seen. And you expect me to sit around and wait till a court date, a piece of paper that says a court date on it? I am a mother. And even though I do not like how my daughter came into this world, I love her. I will always love her. I am insulted, offended, and appalled at how you all have treated me and my child. That you were more willing to make me out to be this unstable, crazy drug addict mother. The shame. So, you know, I don't want an apology. I want my child to be safe, healthy. I don't even, first of all, see, he's the one who went to you guys to initiate this whole ordeal to begin with. Your agencies and institutions have never, ever, 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 and I mean never, ever, accepted or extended the services graciously like you've done with those who take advantage of it or actually need it or take it for granted due to your insensitivity and cultural ignorance, indifference, arrogance, really. It truly is. And I cannot sugarcoat it for you. I won't be here to make you feel good about your terrible behaviors when it is so evident that you just don't have any respect, but you expect respect. I cannot respect someone who doesn't respect me. I cannot respect someone who will not accept truth. I cannot call you an honor. I can't even call you a judge when you're not. You're biased. You are enabling and condoning the abuse. And then it's a foolish idea that you think that things can never reach you. You think that money alone or material alone is all you really need in order to, be free from the contamination or the, you could say, interaction and consequence of neglecting to perform and provide justice when that is what you're there for. Otherwise, why are you there? Because if you're not going to execute that, then get the fuck out of the way when I do. Nobody was hurt. You guys made the problem worse. And then to insult me further by having me sit up in that cell 23 hours a day, 1 hour out to walk around embarrassing when you have allowed and released criminals with long record sheets. But you couldn't do the same for me. I'm a woman, in effect, but you mistreat me like this. And you've done it for a long time. And you still don't have an ounce within you. You don't have no remorse. You don't feel nothing about it. I'm just a piece of paper that slides across your desk according to you and your protocol. That's how you handle business. That's not how I handle it. See, you've overstepped your boundaries. How can you try to hold me to a code or law? How can you hold me to something that is not... I don't get any benefit from it, but you want to give me punishment for it? I don't get to be fulfilled off of it, but you want to consequence me, fine me, detain me. And then you can't even follow your own protocol. I wasn't supposed to be in those jail cells. I was supposed to be, according to the ruling in 2017, I was supposed to be in front of the mental health probate court. That didn't happen. According to how you guys conduct your statutes, this case was supposed to already been void, null and void, because I don't have the competence to enter a contract anyway. And then on top of that, that same judge who did the ruling on me, coincidentally appearing in the ruling that has allowed my child to be in custody of a man, of this male who came here illegally, is impoverished, living with another female in her vicinity, who's also here illegally, with a child that is interacting with my child inappropriately, where the male responsible for raping, assaulting me sexually, also has 2 other children in Mexico who he neglects currently, while neglecting my child and exposing her to things that she should not be exposed to and is not appropriate for her age and for her consumption. But I'm the bad guy, because when I came to you, when I called upon you, you denied me 1, 2, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, expecting me to wait till October the 31st. Why would I wait? He's not answering the phone. He's not allowing me to speak to my child. I knock on the door. He won't open the door. When he opens the door, he's being cocky, only opening it up a little crack. I ask simply, where is my child? She left me a voicemail saying, Mom, please come get me. I get to hear that little boy of another woman who I don't even know, but I know that she's here illegally right along with that child, talking about, see, I told you she wouldn't answer. I can't answer when you're supposed to be responsible victim of a father who's not cooperative with a mother who needs to hear her daughter's voice after he comes to where I was living, not just with police, but a group of strange men who I've never seen in a truck that I've never seen, where my daughter is scared and talking to me quietly, holding on to my hand, saying, Mom, I don't want to go, please. Scared and intimidated. And when I ask you, what are you doing all this for? And you respond to me, porque te dices, because I told you so. Well, you know what? I'll tell you this. No matter which way this goes, because you don't have any remorse or whatever, I know you think that, you could just do no wrong, whatever. You'll be consequenced one way or another. That's not a threat. I'm not going to do anything to you. You've already had me arrested for nothing. It's a damn shame that you can't even do right by your own child. Having lice running through her hair. Jealous and envious of the relationship and love I have for my little girl and that she has for her mother. So while you poison her mind and expose her to things that she has no business getting into, while you groom her and disrespect her, because you certainly don't have any respect for yourself, anyone who would do that to their own flesh and blood. You're supposed to be a grown man, but you resorted to being a fraud and a liar. I know. So because you're selfish, immature, and arrogant, and your ego, I guess so. I guess you think you're hurting me by hurting her. No, you're hurting her. you're too immature. So I guess it is probably the best thing that you do go through those courts. Because I'm a grown adult woman. I don't play childish, pitiful games. I don't need to go to a court to handle my business in regards to my family, my flesh and blood. Shame on you. You're an embarrassment anyways. Don't have the money living under women. You're a leech. You're no better than Tyrone and them. You're just like them. Except you don't speak any English. No broken English. Desgraciado. No tiene respect. No es marudo. So, this toxic, enabling, and allowing of this, hurting children, goes to show how cowardly, cobarde, si eres cobarde, usa una niña, tu propia hija, sepárame de mi hija, porque necesita ganar. Ganar de que yo no voy a pelear contigo. Ok, ya. Si tú tienes poder, hazlo como tú quieres. Si tú falta respeto por tu propia hija, también falta respeto para ti, tu propia misma. Cobarde si eres. No tienes vergüenza ni lástima. Tú no puedes decir que eres adulto, eres actor, manipulador, abusador, mentiroso, falso, traicionero. Yo tengo respeto para ti, para usted también, a tu novia. Ella no es mi problema, pero mira, tu hijo, falta respeto por mi hija. No sabes cómo hacer su pedo, ni cuidar de ella. Si ella tiene ojos. Es triste, pero mira, con este poder que usted tiene, haga como tú quieras. Si no tienen conciencia, ni tienen control. No tienen morales ni modales. Si te vas a vivir una vida falsa, traicioneros, sin vergüenza. Y este no es mi problema. Pues, si quieres ganar, mira, ganaste. ¿Estás feliz? ¿Sientes bien? Ok. Ella merece mejor. Lo mejor era mío.